Hello everybody, Andy here from Glass Half Dead, a kill team channel normally, but today, in fact this entire week, I'm doing other war games. Today I want to talk about Warmachine from Steam Forge Games. They just did that. They've got this big, in the same way that Warhammer has like Warhammer Fest, or they don't. They've actually stopped that. They have whatever they have. They have Warmachine. Steam Forge Games have something called Lock and Load. That's their big one. They also do Adepticon, which will also be a big one, but Lock and Load is specifically Steamforged Games Warmachine. And they did their big key announcement for the year kind of thing. And they actually, look, if they just showed some models, I wouldn't be doing this. I think that they are pushing themselves to be something a little bit more. So I'm going to go over very briefly what they showed. As you can see, I do have models here. I'm going to look at a few models, but this is very much a highlights from my perspective. I'm not telling you everything they said. You can go and check that out yourself. First things first, if you don't know what Warmachine is, let me very quickly pitch it to you on the down low. First things first, Steamforge Games. Hello, welcome to a presentation of a presentation. Steamforge Games is a Kickstarter slop company that accidentally bought a war game. I'll leave that sentence as it is, and are now, interestingly, making it more than just a war game. So when you're thinking of a war game, in my mind, I don't think of Warhammer. That's something else. Okay. When I'm thinking of what is a war game, to be honest, I don't think Warhammer. I look at other things like I look at Malifaux, I look at Star Wars Legion, I look at perhaps Shatterpoint now. I don't look at Marvel Crisis Protocol because I don't like that. I think of Infinity from Corvus Belli, blah blah blah, and not Warhammer. Warhammer is something else. It is a monolith that cannot be beaten. It has so much propulsion behind it that it is now an other. So comparing anything to that is pointless in my mind. So this is Inforge Games, and they are trying to do something that other companies, again, not talking about GW, are not doing. And I think that's really interesting, because it kind of shows that they are trying to fully support the world of Warmachine to actually perhaps rival Warhammer. A good example of this would be Star Wars Legion. Obviously, it's got the Star Wars IP behind it. It's got the full purchasing budget might of Asmodee, and I think they were just sold by Embracer, but still Asmodee is a massive company. But still, it is just plastic on the table. It is just a war game. They haven't pushed beyond that. If you look at things like Infinity, etc., as they are trying to branch out of being just a war game, they're not doing things themselves. They're going to other companies. They are partnering with Army Painter to get paints, etc., etc. Cool. So, with that said, in today's presentation, I think that Steamforge Games have made some interesting partnerships that, to my mind, think, oh, in 5 years' time, I could see Warmachine being more than just a war game, similar to Warhammer, where it has ascended from arguably one of the best, most popular games outside of Warhammer, like Star Wars Legion, and has become more. Right. So, on the off chance you don't know what Warmachine is, allow me to very, very quickly tell you what it is. It is a mass battle game. However, if you're thinking of Warhammer, because we all know roughly what that is, let's say Warhammer, you have 100 models on the board. Kill Team, you have between 5 and 14 models on the board. In Warmachine, you're probably going to have roughly 40 models on the board if you're playing at the max size, which we'll assume you are, and no more. And similar to a 40k, you could play knights, and you've got 5 models on. Well, I think it's 9 models on the board. In this, you could go crazy and put like just 2 big guys and 2 other big guys on the board, and have like an army of 5 as well. There you go. If you wanted to, I'm not saying you'd win much. Maybe you would. I don't know. I don't know the meta. I don't play the game these days. However, it is very interesting in a modern age where we are moving towards more kind of game design principle friendly things, of alternating activations being the standard, the norm. When something releases and it isn't alternating activations, that has to be mentioned. Warhammer can get away with it because why would they change when they make so much money? For Warmachine to continue to also be alternating phased things, also I go, you go, full, I do my everything in my turn, you do everything in your turn, only rolling defense dice, that has to be noted. So if you like that style of gameplay, Warmachine is probably the best game out there. There you go. I've played it. Every time I played it, I enjoyed it. It was really interesting. Every game should be viewed as a puzzle. And when you're in your turn, you have a puzzle in front of you and you get to play out your turns almost, this might sound cringe, almost like chess. You have a puzzle and you want to do the thing that you're doing that turn in a way that other games that oddly are a touch more interactive sometimes don't get to do. And then your opponent gets their turn, they change the board state, and you have your new puzzle. There you go. That's kind of my view of it. To me, it's almost more of a puzzle game than a war game, odd as that might sound. But there you go. However, to me, it's just a cool, fancy world. I have probably read more War Machine fiction than Warhammer fiction at this point. I just prefer it. What are my credentials? I have a load of books. There you go. I think I don't have every single rulebook they've released, but I have almost every single rulebook they've released. The books at the top there, the Mark III Forces of book, stunners. Love every single one. Hardback, really great. If you think GW does nice codexes, you're wrong. These are amazing books. I would say that they are on par, better than on par as the Blood Bowl rulebook that just released, which is a really, really nice book. These are equal to that. Cool. All right. We then have my War Machine playlist. There you go. Go check all of those out. If you just want the absolute breakdown, obviously start with what is War Machine. If you want to play the game, I've got 3 how to play videos. You can just watch the live fire exercise. That's where I'm doing a battle report. But I'm telling you every single rule that occurs, obviously. So that's all you need. And then if you want the actual breaks down, check out part 2, part 3. Okay, let's have a quick moment to give a subscriber-only benefit. So if you are a subscriber to my channel, I would like to give you a big double hello. Wow, so wholesome. Truly the wholesomeness knows no bounds in the world of Glass Half Dead. If you're in the UK, both Element Games and Whaling Games sell War Machine stuff. And you get 10% off with those guys. If you click my link, that'd be awesome. Thank you very much. But anytime you are buying any war game stuff, click somebody's link because it costs you nothing extra. They get a kickback. Great way to support your friendly local content creator, the scum that they are. Okay, so let's talk about my highlights because there were some real massive quality of life improvements for War Machine as a game. First things first, printed cards are coming. Or they're here, maybe. I haven't looked into that. We'll talk more about that later. But printed cards, amazing. Don't get me wrong. I like the War Machine app. I think it's quite well done. But I genuinely don't think any war game should be only digital. Like, especially when you're new. Legit. If you... I think that not having printed media is the biggest barrier to entry for new players. As you're getting better, you want some of the functionality that the app has, right? Cool, fine. But how much friction is no printed media causing to the type of person that is going to be playing war games? People that like printed books and stuff, whales as we call them. Not because of their size, because of how much they like to spend. Let's be clear. Not having printed cards was insane. I get why they did it. They are now having printed cards. Excellent. P3 Paint. This was nothing to do with the particular what's it called? Presentation. Thank God. But I was just noting that they already do their own P3 Paint range, and it is because I've got some, not of the new ones. I have a full set of the old P3. It's all still good. I've had them for a decade at this point. They all still work. I really hope the new ones are that durable. I cannot say that about my old GW paints. The P3 paints still work. I still use them. So the fact that P3 continues to exist is really good. They are now in dropper bottles. Not my vibe. I prefer caps because I'm a lazy painter, but people prefer droppers, obviously. So there you go. But yeah, they exist. If you think about other paint ranges that people do, P3 is such a full and complete paint range. It's really good. I do not know about the new ones. To clarify, the old ones, I would shill those any day. They don't exist now, but there you go. Terrain, they're bringing out terrain. Amazing. One of the things that I find a real struggle about fantasy games is boarding. I don't know why I said that. Boards, the boards you're playing on. There is nothing better than good-looking wargame boards to make people look at your game and your board and say, "Wow, that's really cool." And I think Warmachine at the moment doesn't have official terrain, but they have such a unique, cool universe that I genuinely hope that they lean really hard into making battlefields that feel alive. Obviously, they've got the rules they've got. I hope that when they go into the next edition, but whenever that is, they make it, odd as it might sound, terrain first. Like, you should have a packed board. If it's not packed, if you've got 3 buildings and a lake, that's not good. That's bad. You should start your rule testing with an outrageously packed board. Strip back if you need, but start there, like, with too much terrain and go from there. And the fact that they didn't, I mean, what did they have? They had a little bunker and a watchtower and like a fire, a campfire. It's not quite enough. They are now doing proper terrain. Good. Decals, guys, leave a comment. Do you pronounce it decals or decals? I say decals, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say decals. You say it how you want. They're doing cosplay as well, and that was kind of the thing that made me say, okay, they're expanding a little bit, that more than just like accessories for the board, right? So Galactic Armory is a company, again, talk a little bit more about that in a later slide, but they're gonna be releasing, I don't think they've announced what they're going to release. I would assume Signar armor is step 1, obviously. And then probably Kador, because those are the easiest. But yeah. Also, Warmachine is just a 3D printer's gooey dream. So I don't 3D print. I am happy to buy 3D printed models. Cool. I have plenty, both Warmachine and other just random Etsy buys, and that's fine. Totally fine for me. Not everybody wants to buy those things, but now, if you're a 3D printer, Warmachine is like the cheapest game to get into that is officially supported by a company. They have a, is it Colts 3D? I don't know 3D printing. And like you sign up to that or whatever it is, and it's a monthly subscription, which I pay for but do not use because I'm weird, I know. And like you get so much every month. It's crazy. I'm shocked. I was really surprised with how generous that 3D subscription was, which I do not use yet have. And like, yeah, you can build entire armies. Just, yeah, there you go. They are also releasing a core book, which again, crazy that they release in the year of our Lord 2024. They had released an entire war game without a core book. I get it, but like no cards, no core book, just the app. Fine, perfect for later players, perfect for experienced players, horrendous for new players. Also, they're bringing the press ganger program back. In case you don't know, that's a thing where if you like the game, you can say, "I am going to be a press ganger." You will have your information on like a Google Map pin sheet or whatever, or a big list along with your location, and then you can just go ahead and say, people can contact me, and I will give out demo games. And then if you give out enough demo games, they give you like points in their store, something like that. Um, a lot of people that are into Warmachine will talk a lot about that. I don't care about it, so I'm not going to talk about it more, but that's a big thing for many people, I'm sure. So, on to, those are my highlights. Those are the things I cared about, but let's very briefly talk about the actual models and such. that they were going to be bringing back. So again, they're going to be bringing back some and expanding, which is cool. Some older factions. So, well, some newer old factions. So Crucible Guard and Infernals. The reason I've highlighted these, and I suspect the reason that they are expanding these ones specifically, is because they have no intention of redoing those factions because they're all so new, and they are probably all of that range for Crucible Guard and Infernals. They actually probably have 3D CAD files for. So in theory, they can just print the entire ranges off in 3D printing. Whereas there are other things for like Signar that they just like, no, those were hand sculpted. We just cannot redo those. We would have to redo that exact model. And when you have something like that, they're obviously just doing a new updated version in a new Mark IV. We don't use that term anymore, but in a new army, reimagined, redesigned. But for the things like Crucible Guard and Infernals, where the entire ranges were done in 3D printing ready stuff, they will just update those, which is really cool, actually. So there you go. If you want to get into Crucible Guard now, you don't have to track down all the old stuff they have. They are getting a new command starter, and I assume that Infernals will get that as well, which is really cool. Their next faction is going to be Kithguard, which are literally Vietnam trolls. I'll look at them in a moment. Then you're getting the pigs, which are Thorn Four. I have never liked the pigs. I'm not going to talk about them. I think they're dumb. I know a lot of people love them. Good for them. And then, teased at the end a little bit there, we get Sad Elves on Bats. There's no other way to pitch them. I will say Warmachine has done a pretty good job of saying this faction is this plus this. For example, like what a Dusk. They're just vampire elves. That's it. It's like cool. Imagine vampire elves. There you go. That's them. Whereas these are vampire elves on bats. There you go. Easy. I know what they are now. So if you didn't get that, trolls, Vietnam trolls. Here you go. What else did you think it was going to be? It's Vietnam trolls. So I'm actually I love trolls to the point that I've painted my 40k orc and kill team orcs as trolls because I think they're awesome. There you go. I much prefer the blue skin. It's really cool. However, when they did their northern tribes, the Creoles, sorry, not the northern tribes, the Brine Bloods, I was like, oh no, I love trolls, but I don't like pirates actually, really, or this particular iteration. So I was quite let down there. So actually, gritty trolls, that's way more my thing. So I might get Kithguard, with the only notable annoyance being that I love the what's it called? The Abyssal King. That's a bang of a model. In fairness, I love all of the Gargantua models, but I do think the Abyssal King is a standout. I don't have it. I will buy it one day. There you go. There you go. Right, moving on. So we then have Super Heavies announced. Obviously, we've got to announce the Super Heavies because they're awesome. I will probably at some point get all of these because I just think they're cool. In the same way that for 40k, I have one of each of the Demon Primarchs. Why? I don't play Chaos. No, I just think they're awesome models. They're big. I can put them on a shelf. They look like a display piece. Love them. I think the same thing for their Gargantuans here. Now, obviously, this is very tank tracks are always controversial in Warmachine. This must be on a 120mm base, so this is massive to be clear. But this one, I actually like Khador Jacks the most because they got that really beefy, bulky look, and taking away their beefy, bulky look legs with the tracks. I don't know. I'm not against this. I would totally have it because I do like tanks as well because I'm a late 30s white male. You know, it's my affliction. I apologize. I like tanks. World War II, you know, I'm not beating the allegations, you know. But this actually doesn't sing to my heart as much as some big chunky thighs. We then get the Signar. Now, Signar. Gotta be honest. Again, I'm a huge Warjack fan. I like Signar. The Gravediggers are my boys. I love them. Yeah. Something about this, and it's not the electricity. I think the concept is super cool. This is something I would have to see in person to decide if I like or not. I'd have to see the exact pose, the full 360. I'm unsure. I do think the Thunderhead 2 looks better than the Thunderhead 1. I will say that. So that's cool. We then get the Orgoth. Now this is just a banger, a straight banger, isn't it? You know, so as far as I can tell, yeah, you can see it there, the big rock. The thing isn't touching the base. Instead, you've got a rock and you've got some nice flames. Really cool. Big fan. Love it. Except I'm not an Orgoth guy. I don't have any Orgoth. They were like the only faction I didn't get. I got Storm Legion. I got Dusk. I didn't get Brine Blood. I didn't get Orgoth. I got Kador. So of those kind of releasing 5 armies, I only picked up 3, and Orgoth wasn't one of them. So there you go. Also, to me, this looks very Dusk coded. I have to say. And then we get the Crix Death Jack. So this guy, okay, critique time. I like Crix. I'm a big fan of Crix. In general, I do not have the faction. I do not have the Necrofactorum, but I would, right? Like they would be a faction I would play. If I needed to pick up another one, it would be Crix next. But I would do a very different color scheme. And my issue here is just looking at the model. Like if you look at that front on right here, I can't. I'm colorblind. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's the paint job, and it's not a bad paint job, but they've got so many. Shall we say over designed? I don't know. There are so many bits going on that my eyes can't tell what's happening. It just looks like a jumble of colors, genuinely. But I do think that is a paint scheme and paint technique issue. If they had gone flat colors instead of non-metallic metals, I think that would clean itself up, and you really kind of just the green glow would pick out, be a lovely spot color, and everything else darken it down. I think this would be fine. But they've tried to be consistent in their paint techniques and schemes, and so I don't think it quite works for that particular model. I think we felt that a lot in the Dusk reveals. I felt that a lot in the Dusk reveals. The Dusk models that they did, I basically didn't like any of them. But then when I did my own color scheme, which is obviously just very flat contrast, it's not a good. Like, I'm not a good painter. But when you just take away all the non-metallic metals, which give texture and like highlights where you don't want highlights on a flat 2D picture, they in my opinion, improved them tenfold. There you go. Cool. Those are the new big models. I love big models. Big fan. Again, they also showed like lots of massive things for the Thornfall Alliance, the pigs. I don't care about them. Right. We then have the additional things they're doing, which is really cool. So keep in mind, this is a company that has bought basically some models. They bought some 3D files, and they bought a rule set. And they started off by just saying, hey, we're releasing the 3D files. You can pay us for them. And there's an app with a subscription if you want to pay that. And that's it. That's kind of what they bought from Privateer Press. And now, not only are they expanding it into more than a war game, in my opinion, in a way that, again, Star Wars Legion has not done, which is mad when they have the backing of Asmodee, right? They've said, we're happy to just be some plastic and a rule set. That's what Warmachine was at the launch of Mark IV, sorry, when Steamforge bought the game. It was just a war game with very limited things for you to enjoy. They dropped all the printed media. It was just an app and plastic. Well, 3D printed files. Cool. So we get official. So all of this is officially sponsored as well. That's it's not them doing it, but they've gone to companies that they like or that are willing to work with them. I don't know, and they are now providing that. So, firstly, Baron of Dice. We all know them. I have never used their dice because they're in the US. I just don't have them, and they are doing dice with them. So obviously, these are every faction will have a little tin. And their official faction dice. Obviously, in Warmachine, you don't need that many dice, so you're not buying, a pack of 50 here. You're buying a small little presentation tin of however many it is, 8, something like that. Like that's the most you ever need in Warmachine, so that's cool. uh, of the faction color with a faction logo. Nice. There's a lot, like there's like 6 battle maps, from 4 from Deep Cut Studio and 2 from Frontline Gaming, FLG. So that's really cool, that they're building these working partnerships with these studios. Don't know who made the artwork, whether it was Steamforge or those companies. Don't know how it works, but that's really nice. Like to see that. The one that stood out to me most was obviously the Deep Cut Studio trench mat, because I like the trenches. I was like, "Ooh, trench mat, cool, I like it." But we shall see. The rest didn't really speak to me too much of being like, "Oh yeah, this is clearly Warmachine." Everything else was a little bit, "Oh, an open field, okay." Like, what's Warmachine about that, you know? Maybe they have one cogwheel in the corner kind of thing, I don't know, I'd have to see the mats, but, the trench one really stood out to me, so there you go. They're doing acrylic tokens, they've always done this. Broken Egg is a separate company that has, for ages now, provided definitely in Mark III, and it's continued into Mark IV, they've consistently been doing acrylic tokens. They look lovely, really beautiful. I think it's either a US or Canadian company, so I've never had them myself, but they look lovely when I look at them. I really strongly considered buying them, but then I was like, calm down, Andy. You don't need it just yet. Chill. So I didn't do that. There you go. But they look lovely. And one day, right, one day, uh, they're doing storage boxes. That's a little bit of a lie. They're doing magnetic sheets spot with their, the War Machine logo or your faction logo by Warmag. I have some Warmag products. They're just a magnetic sheet that are cut to fit into certain size, really useful boxes like A4 sizes, and that's really cool. There you go. I think that's good. I think that's a good middle ground because honestly, really, A4 really useful boxes are a great thing. There you go. Like, why design your own case when you basically have the perfect storage boxes for dirt cheap, right? So, how can you enhance that? Go with Warmag. I think that's a good thing. Very cool. Big fan. Obviously, it's completely optional, right? You can always just buy the normal Warmag sheets or some off-brand magnetic sheeting. Still works, but if you're partnering up, why not do it? And then I've never heard of these before, but Goblin Hobbies, the image they showed had the Goober Town Hobbies guy on there. I forgot his name right in that second. It will come to me. It's tip of my tongue. So I assume that this might be his company, or maybe he's just worked with them and that's the promo shot. But they seem to do decals, which is cool. So now they've released, if you want to have your faction logo or whatever, there was a nice 2 sheets there. You just buy them and just immediately put a decal on your guys. Which, odd as it might sound, I actually think is a really big thing. The reason I think that is because it's such a good way to add and customize a certain level of painting quality to a model. I don't use decals because I hate painting, so I don't care about this, and I won't ever use these. I don't use decals on my Warhammer models. I won't ever use them. Fine. Doesn't matter. It's not about me. Well, everything is about me in a way. But in this instance, I think this is really cool. Being able to, like on your Marines, you're trying to spruce them up a bit. They're very plain. Adding just a little like arrow to their knee or a legion number, chapter number to their shoulder pad, suddenly they have points of interest for you to look at. I think that in the past, bit of critique, perhaps War Machine is a little bit over designed. There are no flat spaces on models, and that's a real issue. To the point that I think the decals aren't in the current models iterations that useful because you can't put them anywhere. However, going forwards, I would actually hope that they now have specific spots built onto models where they expect you to put a decal. I think that would be very smart of them to do. Right now, just thinking of my trenches, there's literally nowhere for me to put a decal. Like, where's that going? Yeah, because they have pouches everywhere, heavily over-designed. I say over-designed, they're not always in a bad way. Like, they're trying to put interest into it. But you can easily get to over-designed where you always have a fold or a curve on what could have been just a flat, rounded shoulder pad where you could then add a decal or battle scratches. But now they don't have that. There's always something in the way. Dribbles is what they're called, isn't it? So hopefully they go forward and actually design with the idea that people are going to use decals. People want a bit of customizability in their hobby, perhaps. And a good way to do that, odd as it might sound, is to have flat surfaces. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right, guys. I'm a hobby channel, really. Yeah. We then get terrain. So this is from Terraniacs. I had seen Terraniacs. They did a big Kickstarter, unaffiliated with Steamforge Games, but it was all very clearly, basically, um, steampunk, steampunk buildings, steampunk stuff. And then they clearly were reached out to by Steamforged, and then they actually provided some terrain for some Steamforged Warmachine tournaments. Cool, cool. Now they are officially partnered with them. Really cool. I've seen the terrain from Terraniacs. I actually missed the Kickstarter, so I didn't manage to pick any up because again, I don't have a 3D printer, but their terrain looks lovely. I would love like 5 of everything, and I just build a massive steampunk like street and city for the battle. That's what I want. I don't want 2 buildings and a lake and a tree. That's not cool. I want a city. There you go. All right, cool. Anyway, moving on. We then have some cosplay from Galactic Armory. Again, I don't, unless I missed it, I don't think they've actually shown what they're going to be doing, but they are working with them in some way. That's really cool. I'm a total nerd. If they do something cool, I will buy that. I wouldn't buy like a full suit of armor, but a cool sword. Yeah, like if you think about some of the what are they called? Oh, the Thunderers or something. The Signar guys that have like the swords that shoot lightning. Give me one of those. Yeah, I'll buy that all day, every day. And then of course the printed cards from Forge Fire. Um, Practically mandatory, right? Like I think this is really good. I hope that I don't know who Forge Fire are. I've never used them before, but I do hope that Forge Fire they manage to make these affordable. If not for the like, like if they're an American company, I don't want to look at how much it costs to ship to me and say I can't buy that. The shipping has to be less than the pack of cards. Okay, if they're not, I understand the world that we live in. Okay, unfortunately, but like, yeah, that's gonna be the tough one for them. I would hope that Forge Fire, wherever they're based, will have contacts to like at least every continent able to say, yeah, we can ship from our printer in America because we're a UK company or whatever, and we just know a guy there, and we know that they can do things to the same spec that we do, and it works. I would really hope that, because honestly, legit, that would be one of my immediate purchases, as long as the price is right, and I'm aware how much things cost these days, unfortunately. But I would just buy one of everything. Even though I have it for free in the app with my app subscription, I have everything. Not that you need the subscription, sorry. All the rules are free in the app. Didn't mention that. Doesn't matter. Nobody cares. You already know. If you watched for this long, you already know that. But printed media is so helpful, especially for those people thinking being press gangers, or it's just another bit of cool media to have on the table in a similar way to how you have a cool board of terrain can draw eyes to your game. I genuinely think that so can printed cards. I think it is more engaging to see cool looking thematic data cards, if you want to call them that, than somebody looking at their phone. Legitimately. Now, obviously, in a tournament setting, you probably want everything on your phone. They've got that. Cool, fine. But for that new player experience and to draw eyes, seeing cool things is what you have to have. And legit, cards are part of that. And then, of course, it finished off with Menoth. Now, there was also a picture of somebody from Menoth, which will be fun. I think it was a mini crate. It was just the this warjack. It probably wasn't a warjack. It was probably a Templar. And their shoulder pad, and they were stood on the shoulder pad. You know, classic tactical rock, but it's a tactical enemy's shoulder pad, right? And what did it have on it? 3 claw scratches. What could that be from? Who knows, right? Who knows? Anyway, there you go. That's the end of it. If you made it to the end of the video, I'd like to give you a big triple hello. Thank you so much for watching. I understand this isn't my usual content. If you're not a War Machiner and you're just here for some interesting news, you're a legend. Thank you so much. If you are a War Machiner, drop a comment. Let me know that War Machine is appreciated. You know me, if I get enough feedback and views, I'll do it again. Just try me, bro. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.